Thank you so much for being here this morning. We know this. We know there are a lot of other things you could do on a Saturday than be in the room with us. So we're excited that you're here, and we are going to make it worth your time this morning. Okay? Now, do me a favor, just to help me out. Everybody stand up for a minute. Okay. Now sit back down, and I'll tell you why I'm doing this. I'm going to have you up several times during this session. I just want to make sure you don't have things in the way, so it's easy to stand up and discuss. We're going to talk about a topic this morning called building thinking classrooms. And really what I would ask of all of you is this. This morning, you're going to hear this session. You're going to hear some really practical things from our panelists, from really their experience in Vietnam and in their schools. You're going to hear some great ideas in the breakout sessions. But the most important thing today is this. I would actually say two most important things. Number one, if you sit through these sessions, but then you don't do anything with it, we all wasted our time this morning. And we don't like to waste our time, do we? So what I really want you to do throughout the morning, just listen, think about it, and pick one or two things that you're going to take back to your classroom in your school and try. And you have to try it. So that's one thing. The second thing I would say is this. If you look around this room, we have a ton of experience and knowledge sitting in these seats right here. Take some time today to get to meet somebody else not from your school. Find out what they're doing. Because I tell you, we learn more from each other than any other way. Now, we're going to start out with just a little quick exercise. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to stand up again. I'm not going to make you move somewhere else, but find two other people beside you, behind you, in front of you. Okay? I'm going to put a little exercise up on the screen right here. Don't shout it out. Which number doesn't belong? Get one in your mind. Do you have one in your mind? Turn to those two other people. What number did you pick and why? You got about 35 seconds. Okay, I'm going to ask you to find your seat. Go ahead and sit down. And then those of you that are joining us virtually, I know it's not as much fun talking to yourself about your answer, but hopefully you'll participate. Now, I want you to notice two things right away. Number one, we went from one person talking to what? Everybody talking. And I just want you to think about your classrooms. When we talk one way to our students, there are some things they pick up, but all of us know this. We forget the vast majority of what we hear. Now we have them write notes down and we have them do things, but I'm going to tell you this, it's still, most of it slips away. When students can interact with each other, it increases vocabulary usage of the academic subject, but they also get to cement the ideas because they're using it verbally. So that's just one idea out there. Now I just got a question really quick. Anybody pick 2? Why 2? Really loud.
Because it's the only number that is smaller than 3.
It's the only number smaller than 3. That's a great answer. Okay. Did anybody pick 5? Let me see your hand. Oh, lots of 5s. Okay. Right here. Why 5?
Yeah, because 5 is the odd number and the other they all are even.
Oh, 5 is the only odd number. Imagine that. Okay. Anybody pick 10? Okay, 10. Somebody in the back there. Why? Only 2-digit number. And then, which one did we not do? Did anybody pick 8? Why? Okay, it's the only one that's not a factor of 10. Now, the thing about this is called a sense-making routine. In the math session, we're going to talk a little bit more about these. But they allow, you normally use this to start a class. It's a very quick exercise, but every student gets an opportunity to express themselves to start the class. Okay? The other thing about it is, they can think whatever they want. You notice there was a reason all of these could be correct. So we're going to jump into that. Now what we're going to do this morning, we're going to look at 5 things. I'm going to talk about our aims because we want to know from the beginning where we're headed. Secondly, we're going to look at the challenge facing us. And then we're going to look at 3 things that start out this whole idea of building thinking classrooms. Number 1, the different types of tasks. Number 2, collaborative grouping. And then number 3, where students work. Now, let me tell you this, guys. You are welcome to jot down anything. You're welcome to take any pictures you want of what I have up here. But at the very end, I have a link and a QR code that has a document with the presentation and a number of resources that go along with this idea. So feel free if you want to take pictures or anything, but I just want you to know you're going to get it. So let's start out with this. The idea that we're looking at is based on the work and the research of Dr. Peter Lujadal. And he has done some work specifically around mathematics. Now, today's session is not just going to focus on math. The idea behind building thinking classrooms and the strategies go to any subject area we teach, whether it's a school subject or any kind of other subject that we wanted to do. But I just want you to know up front, it's based on his work, okay? And this is starting to see traction across the US, across Europe, across different parts of the world. When people are exposed to the idea, we see them start to integrate it into their schools and classrooms. So that's where the work is coming from. Now, our session aims, number 1, to explore the work around building thinking classrooms. We want to take a look at what's been done. Number 2, I want you to experience some tasks today that are going to help you create the idea behind what a thinking classroom looks like. Number 3, we're going to look at some specific strategies. And let me stop at this one just for a second. We're going to look in this session at really 3 specific ideas. And my goal today is that you would take these 3 ideas back to your school and try them. Now, when you try strategies, you can't just try them one time. Because the first time we do anything new as an individual or with our students, does it go well? Well, sometimes, but sometimes, because you know why? They're not used to it. And anytime we try to do something, they don't want to do it wrong. So you've got to try things 3, 4, 5 times before you can evaluate how it's working. And the other thing, we have to help our students realize how to do it. So that strategy, and then the last one is the most important, is that you guys would take an action step out of this. So that's where we're headed. So I want to start out with this, okay? Now, I'm going to ask you to stand up again in just a minute. You don't have to do it yet, all right? And here's what I want you to do this time. Instead of talking to someone right behind you or beside you, I want you to talk to someone on the other side of the room, okay? So you don't have to go in the back. Just find a couple people across the aisle from you and do it. And here's your question. I want you to think of the normal math classroom that you sat in as a student. What was that classroom like? You got a minute. Stand up, find somebody on the other, couple people on the other side. What was that average math classroom like? And those of you at home, I want you to think about it and maybe even jot it down. Okay, because of time, I'm going to cut you short. Find your seat. Go ahead and find your seat. I need the little bell. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, 3, 2, 1. I know. There it goes. Somebody's ringing the bell. Now, if I could have just one person across the audience, somebody, if you don't mind sharing, what was your discussion like? What was the average math class like? Not everybody at once. Come on, give us one volunteer. What was your average answer? Right up here, okay? Here, we got a mic right here.
Do I have to stand up?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a math teacher, and when I was a student, the class is typically boring, and a lot of students, and too short.
Okay.
That's with everyone here in Vietnam.
Okay.
When we were students, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now let me ask you this. Tell me if, and you can sit down.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thanks for being the brave one. Let me ask you this. Tell me if this sounds right. Because I was a math science teacher. Come into class. Okay, guys, pull your homework out. Which ones did you have problems with? Oh, number 2, 5, and 6. And then we would do one of two things. I would either work it out on the board, or I would have 3 volunteers come up and work out 2, 5, and 6. So we can review the homework, right? Step 2, let me introduce the new concept. So we'd go over whatever we were doing next. Step 3, let's work a couple of sample problems. And then what's step 4? Start on your questions, right? And you know what? Then we came in tomorrow and we did the same thing. Now, this doesn't just relate to math, but I want to tell you that is a problem. And what they did is they actually went in and they observed numerous classrooms. And they found out when that was the pattern of what happened, and it came time to do the actual work. So you know what? We went over the new material. Now it's time to try some problems. So I'm going to do one. Now it's your turn to do one. That students did one of 5 things. And this is not just math. They did one of 5 things. The first one they did was what we're going to call slacking. They weren't even trying to do the task. They were talking about what they did last night or what they were going to do after school, but they weren't on task at all. You don't have any students in your class that slack, do you? Number 2, these were the students that we're going to call stalling. And what stalling is they were actually doing legitimate things. Like going and sharpening their pencil, going to the bathroom, getting a sheet of paper, whatever. They were doing something that had purpose in the class, but it had nothing to do with the task they were doing. Okay? So we got slacking, they weren't even trying. Number 2, we have stalling. I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm going to do something else that looks like I'm participating. Number 3 is faking. I got my notebook out, I got my pencil moving, but I'm not doing anything. And why am I not doing anything? Because in a minute, you're going to show me how to do it. So I'm going to fake like I'm doing it. I'm not slacking. I'm looking at my paper. Here's number 4. And by the way, this is the one you really have to watch out for. It's called mimicking. And here's what mimicking means. Mimicking is I'm going to do exactly what you did on the last problem on this problem. So I saw that the one you have up on the board, you did this first, I'm going to do that. And then you did this, and I'm going to do it. What's the problem with mimicking? 1, they don't really know what they're doing. And number 2, if they get in a situation where it changes slightly, oh, you can stand up. That's not bothering me. Okay? If it changes slightly, they don't know what to do with it. Now, I want you to think about this in literature when they're looking at main idea or something like that, and you're doing a selection in literacy, and they see how you pull the main idea out, and it came out of the first sentence. So what do many of them think that don't know what main idea is? It's got to be the first sentence. So they mimic you. And that's a problem because they don't really understand the structure of what's happening. And then the last one is they try it on their own. They actually do try it. Now, what's interesting about this is the percentages. And I'm going to show you this right now. This was in visits of over 40 different classrooms watching this take place. So what they did is this is what they came up with in these 40 different classrooms. Now, if we start with slacking, and remember slacking, they're not even trying to do it, that was 9% of the class. They just weren't even trying at all. If we go to stalling, oh, and I need to correct my parenthesis there. If we go to stalling, that was 13%. So if you add those two together, about a quarter of the class was either not trying it at all, or they were doing something that had nothing to do with getting the problem done or the work done. Okay? When we look at the next one, faking was about 6%. What are the fakers doing? Acting like they're doing it, but they're not really. Notice mimicking. 53%, over half of the class, looked like they were on task, but wasn't really trying to understand the idea behind the work they were doing. And then you have about 1 out of 5, about 19%, that were actually trying on their own to figure out the assignment, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you this. They were observing this in math classrooms, but if you went to a social studies, a science, or a literacy classroom, or an ICT classroom, guess what? You would see the same 5 behaviors, and you would see them in about the same percentages, because that's how students actually participate in school. So, when we think about this, what does this mean to us as teachers and administrators? And I'm going to throw a couple ideas out here, and hopefully in your mind right now, there's some ideas going through. So if 50% of my students are mimicking the work, but not understanding it, what does that mean to me as a teacher? If I've got like 25% that are either faking, not trying it at all, or, stalling, what does that mean to me? You know what? Number one, it means a couple of things. One, we need to assess in a way that actually looks for student understanding, okay? And I don't just mean summative assessment. During class, we need to be doing things that actually help us understand, are students understanding the idea, or are they just doing what we do? Because if they're just mimicking, it's not going to help them when they try to apply that somewhere else. So we need to think about that, number one. Number two, we need to think about how we're communicating information and what we're actually doing in our classroom to get students to actually start thinking. And it doesn't mean they don't. It's how can we increase that in the classrooms that we're doing. So, we're going to start out with building thinking classrooms, how we can go beyond mimicry and how we can actually get students looking at conceptual understanding of the ideas. Now, when they did this whole idea, they came up with 14 different factors or strategies that you could use in a thinking classroom. And this developed over a number of years of research. This morning, we are not going to do all 14. So if you're really interested in this, I'm going to suggest you get the book, Building Thinking Classrooms. And there's a ton of research, and in the document I'm going to give you, there's links to articles on this that really develop the idea. What we're going to do this morning, we're going to spend our time on the first 3 because they are the starting point. You could take these 3 back to your school and your classroom, you could institute them, and you would start to see a dramatic change just from the 3 we're going to look at. And these first 3 in the circle give thinking tasks. Are we giving students things to do that are beyond rote memory or beyond procedural process? And what I mean by procedural process, here's step 1, step 2, step 3. There's nothing wrong with procedural process, but the problem with it is it leads to mimicry. Oh, I do 1, 2, 3. But the problem with that is if it's altered, no longer does 1, 2, 3 work, and I don't know what to do. I only know 1, 2, 3. So that's the first one. Second one is frequently form visibly random groups. I'm going to explain that. Number 3, use vertical non-permanent surfaces. We're going to talk about that one as well, okay? These other ones I'm going to throw up here. These are the rest of the 14, and what they do, they actually build out these first 3. They actually expand them into thinking. So defront the classroom. What is defront? That's a weird word even to me, and I'm a native English speaker. It just means me in the front of the classroom is not always the primary focus of the room. So let's get students working in groups and collaboratively to build that thinking classroom. Answer only, keep thinking questions. Don't give them the answer right away. Make them work for it. Give thinking tasks early. Check your understanding with questions. This is a fun one. Mobilize knowledge. And what that means is this. Help the students learn from each other. A lot of the students have the knowledge. How can we get them to share it with other students rather than it just be us? Asynchronously use hints, consolidate from the bottom, have them write meaningful notes. Notice, building thinking classroom does not mean that we don't take notes or we as a teacher don't share information. We still do. And then we come to the last ones, evaluate what you value. That simply means when we assess, are we assessing the most important things? The last two help students see where they are and where they're headed. What's the goal? And then lastly, grade based on data, not on points. And all it means by that is don't just give a percentage. Base the grading on do they actually know what the end goal is. Okay? That's a really important one. The only other one I'm going to point out up here is the evaluate what you value. What's the outcome that you want? And do students know that? By the way, in math class, it was boring, right? Okay, that was the word. That was the word my son would use too. It's boring. Okay, and you know why? Especially math, because students don't see how math actually applies to their life. I should have asked this earlier. How many of you are math people? Way up. Don't be proud of it, guys. Come on, way up there, okay? How many are science people in here? How many are literacy people? How many are history or social studies people? How many are administrators? Okay. Did I miss something? How many of you are elementary? How many are primary grades? Okay. Middle grades? Upper grades? Oh, we got kind of an interesting mix today. So these are the 14 principles. We're going to start out with the first three. So we're going to look, number one, what is a thinking task? Now, with this one, I've got a lot of words up on here, far more words than you should ever put on a PowerPoint. I just want you to read that for a minute. That's why all those words are on the slide. I'm going to take a minute and let you read it. By the way, in the back, can you read that? Okay. Now this time, I'm not even going to make you stand up. Just turn to the person right next to you. What words jump out in that seem important? That means you got to talk to each other, though. Okay. Okay, let me throw out a few and see if these rang. If this was one that hit you, let me know that. Did anybody, one of these three words, stimulate critical thinking? Anybody? Okay, I see some head nods on that one. Okay. What about low floor? High ceiling? And that simply means in low floor. Anybody can do it? But high ceiling, the thinking can go really way up when they do this. Okay? Now, when we think about these kinds of tasks, it's not the only thing we're doing in class, but these are an important part of what we do in class. And I would tell you this, here we go. There are several different characteristics. Number one, deep thinking tasks promote deep learning. They have to struggle with the idea, and there's an outcome that's important in it. Number two, it encourages collaboration in the group. I'm going to break you into groups to do it. Number 3, it balances challenge and ability. This one's important because if you only do a high ceiling task, I lose a big part of my class because they can't do it. So how can they get engaged in that? The next one, it focuses on the how. Because the how is how it works, how things are important. And the last one, it's flexible and engaging, so we're not having students say it's boring. Okay? I'm going to give you some examples of these that are different kinds of thinking tasks. But notice in that definition, it said there were 2 kinds, non-curricular and curricular. And here's the difference. Non-curricular might not deal with the specific standard or goal that we have for the class right now. Curricular are ones that are directly related to the standards and the ideas that the students are going to be assessed on. So if I have these 2 different types, why would I ever do a non-curricular? And let me give you the reason. And actually in the research, what they've shown is that when you start doing this, you should use 3 to 5 non-curricular tasks to get the students used to this type of thinking. And the reason they pick non-curricular, it's easier to find these than to find a good thinking task written for a curricular topic. And the whole point is, get them used to doing it. In fact, we know this. Anytime you institute a new routine, the literacy session today, Brandon's going to be talking about instructional routines. Anytime you introduce a new routine, you need to use it 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a row for it to actually become a routine. That's the reason they suggest when you start doing this, pick some riddles or some logic problems or some things like that you do that get you students used to thinking outside of the box. And the other reason they recommend it is because in your class, they're used to you teaching a certain way. And they don't try to think outside of that way, so they're going to try to take the curricular task and do it just like we've done class every day. And that's not what we want. So what you're doing is by using these first ones is breaking up the norm. The reason we go to the second one is because we have standards to cover. And we need to make sure most of those tasks then tie to the standards, all right? Now, I'm going to give you one. So this one, what I'm going to ask you to do is I want everybody to stand up again. I want you to find 2 people you don't know and haven't talked to yet. And you got about 2 minutes on this one. How many squares are in this figure? You got about 2 minutes. Okay, if I can get you moving back to your seats. I know you don't want to stop. Okay, if you could go ahead and move back to your seats. Now, could I get a volunteer? No, I'm going to pick somebody else. If I could get a volunteer, I don't want the number. I don't want the number. I want somebody to tell me how your group went about it, how you went about figuring it out. Okay. Come on, guys. You were all doing it. Somebody will share how your group tried to figure it out. What was your strategy? Okay, over here. Do we have, yeah, yep.
So our group looked for the most simple ones, for example, the biggest square, and then on that, plus the smallest squares. So you look for the easier ones and then go for the harder ones to look. So for
what
example,
were the hard
corners.
ones?
Easiest to harder. So for example, you might split it into corners, then you look at the rows and the layers, and look for the ones that are a bit more difficult to spot.
Okay, okay. Did somebody do it differently? Anybody else share how you did it? That you did it differently than that? Well, you all, I see a hand right there. Yeah, go ahead and stand up. They'll bring the mic to you. Yes. Wait, he's going to hand you the mic so the people at home can hear us.
Thank you. What I did was I draw the same squares
Okay.
on my notes, and I think we shared the same strategy. Count from the smallest one to the biggest one, and then to the more difficult ones.
Okay, so if you think about that, if I put it in different words, so I would start out with the whole, then I would go by rows and columns of 3, all the ones that were 3, and I'd go down, okay? Did anybody, I'm just curious, did anybody use Google? I'm just checking. I'm glad you're tapped because I'm not going to tell you what the answer is. You have to actually figure it out. Okay, if you want to come up later today and ask me, I'll tell you, but I would rather you try it on your own. Now, by the way, this is a good example of a thinking task you could use in any classroom. I don't care if it's math or what, just to get the students used to this idea. And there's a bunch of different ways you could do this. I'm going to throw this out there. It has nothing to do with the talk today. But by the way, when I ask, if anybody used Google, the first thing that would come into a lot of our students' mind is, I'm just going to Google it. Or I'm going to go to ChatGPT and put this question in there and do it. And you know what, guys? Best thing you can do for that to make sure the students are actually working, like on a test or a quiz or something you have them do, take one question and make them come up front and explain it to you. A little bit harder to use ChatGPT when you do that. Now, this is an example of a rich thinking task. There's not one way to do it, so it's low floor. Anybody can try it. They can start counting different ways to do it. But it can really lead to some advanced thinking about process, and really the whole thing about this is about how you did it. Now, in the end, we want to get to the answer, but it's a great one. I'm not going to have you do this one, but this is one actually out of our Reveal Math program. We call these Ignite activities. The reason I'm showing this is not because it's in our math program, but it's because of the kind of activity. And I want you to look at this one. Hector and his sister Luciana each had a glass of chocolate milk. Anybody like chocolate milk? Okay, I like chocolate milk. Okay? Hector put a greater amount of powder in his glass than Luciana did, but Luciana claims her milk has a stronger chocolate taste. Hector's got the bigger glass, Luciana's got less in her glass, and notice here the questions. what do you notice? What questions could you ask about this? So again, low floor, because I can notice anything about it. I notice the color. Does one look darker than the other? I don't know. They kind of look like the same. What do I notice? Who has more milk in their glass? Yeah. Who has less? But you know what? To be honest with you, you can't answer the question. It's funny how many people try to answer it. You can't answer it because you don't know how much chocolate he put in and how much she put in. You don't know how much milk is in the glasses. So you don't actually know. What it does, it gets students thinking about what would I need to know in order to do this. So it's just another example of one, okay? This one I want you to think about with me. This is from literature. Use excerpts from this book, The House on Mango Street, to complete the task. But notice you could use it with any text that you're doing, okay? We're going to explore and create a character identity based on what we read from the first chapter of The House on Mango Street. Imagine you're an artist who has to create an identity for our main character. Using words and images, create a representation of what you know and what you believe to be true about this character. That is a great question. Again, low floor, because if I struggle with the whole idea, I could still come up with answers, but think about the creativity a student could use, and then the questions you can ask, what's coming from evidence and what are you making up? Because they're doing both things right here. Now, that is a rich thinking task when we get into that idea, okay? This is let me back up for a minute. This is a science one, and really it goes into the whole idea of cell structure and function, believe it or not. When we look at this, the problem of Theseus is ship. A ship's sail breaks, so it's replaced. A year later, the floorboards start to rot, so they're replaced. Eventually, every one of the ship's components is replaced and none of the original parts remain. Is it the same ship, yes or no, and what's your rationale behind it? But notice down below, alternately, same thing happens in the cells in your body. Every 7 years, every cell is replaced. Are you still the same person if you're all new parts? So think about that for a minute, okay? Major considerations. If you're going to do these, by the way, this is the most important part of the rich tasks that we're going to talk about. Number one, the first 3 to 5 should be non-curricular. They should just be challenging, engaging, thinking problems. Remember, why? Because we want to break the cycle of what we're normally doing in class. Otherwise, they try to fit it to class structure. So pick 3 to 5. Why 3 to 5? They have to do it multiple times in a row in order for it to start becoming a normal habit. Number 2, then shift to curriculum task. Because why? We have standards to cover. Now, I will tell you, most resource creators are not great at thinking tasks. They're more yes or no or problem oriented. That is one thing we pride ourselves on. We've got some great thinking tasks, and I think in the math, science, ICT, and literacy breakouts this afternoon, you're going to see some of them, but you do not have to use a McGraw Hill resource in order to have good thinking tasks. You can adapt questions and problems and make them thinking tasks. And then begin by asking a question that relates to prior knowledge. Why do we do that? We don't want the student completely lost. We want to give them some comfort. Number 2, ask a question. I got to do some proofing on my little thing here that should say that is an extension of that prior knowledge. And then ask the students to do something without telling them how. Notice with the square problem you guys did, I didn't tell you how to count them. What did I ask you? How many squares, how many squares are in this diagram? Okay? And then you had to figure out how you're going to do it. So these are some sources. They're in the handout. You don't need to take a picture of them. But these are some places you can get some different, really high quality thinking tasks. And in the handouts, I have someone for different areas that you can look into. So let's go to the second part of this, because I got to watch my time. Rich thinking tasks do not happen with an individual sitting down in the seat, working by themselves in a notebook. That's where you're going to get stalling, faking, mimicking, slacking, and you're going to have some actually try to do it. Because when I'm sitting down by myself at my desk, and there's 30 of us in the room, you don't know what all of us are doing. So one, these are often best done in groups. So what are the way that we group students? What are the typical ways that we group students? And I tell you, if you think about when you do grouping, we tend to have 2 or 3 different ways that we group. Sometimes we group by ability level. Okay? So I want the high flyers over here, and I want my struggling group over here because I don't want to slow the high flyers down. So sometimes we do it by ability level. Sometimes we mix those ability levels because we want the higher thinkers being able to influence some of the ones that are struggling, but we also know the way that some of the struggling students think about something enlightens a high flyer. And the other thing about that, my high flyers are not always the same people, and my struggling students are not always the same people, because even our advanced students are missing concepts from the topics, and with that idea, they're a struggling student. So sometimes we do it like that. What they found, though, is typically when we group students in the normal ways, the groups are not as effective as they could be. And here's why. If I'm in a mixed ability level group, almost always the students have undefined roles. So who's the smart one in the group? They're the one that's going to do the thinking. And in fact, what they did, these are the 3 that we normally do: pedagogical groups, productivity groups. This is maybe when I do productivity, when I have the high flyers together and then peacefulness groups. By the way, you know what peacefulness groups are? That's when I put friends together because I don't want them complaining about, I don't get to be with this friend or that friend. We let them self-select because that way it gives me peace. I don't have to worry about it. Okay? Now, what happened, though, is they went back to students in these classrooms and asked them these 2 questions. If I told you that next class you're going to work in a group to solve a word problem, what is the likelihood that you would offer an idea? So we're going to be in groups tomorrow. What's the likelihood that you would offer an idea? And then secondly, here's the second one. If you were to offer an idea, what is the likelihood that your idea would contribute to the solution? Now, these were the 2 questions they asked the students. So the first one, what do you think the percentage is that they thought they would offer an idea or not? 80%, 8 out of 10 students said, it's unlikely that I would say anything or offer any idea. Okay? And then when the second one, if you did offer an idea, how likely would it contribute to the solution? I want you to look at this. 90% said, if I did offer it, it probably wouldn't impact it. And you know what? Here's why. Because there are already these predefined roles just based on the nature of the individuals. So what they did is they tried grouping in a variety of classrooms, and then they did observations. And when they did the groupings, they didn't do it once. They did it over multiple days so they could watch the interaction of the students while they were doing the groupings. And basically what they came up with is this. Try visible random grouping. Now, Three important words in here. The number one, first, these kinds of thinking tasks need to be in groups. The second one is they need to be in random groups. It's not by ability level. We just randomly mix the students up. But what's the third word up here? Visible. And what that means is the students have to see that the grouping was random because they won't believe you if they don't see it. And that's what actually happened. They started doing random grouping, and the teacher would say, I grouped you randomly, and the kids under their breath were saying, sure you did. Yeah, sure. This doesn't look like random to me, okay? And they don't believe it. So random grouping, and how do you do that? There's a number of different ways, and in the handout you'll get a couple of these. The first one, this one is a random group generator. You just copy the names of your students, you throw it in. How many, notice here, number of people per group, 3. I can do that right in class, stick it in, hit the button, and guess what? They're in random groups of 3. There's several different kinds. One of those is called Flippity. Both of these are free. The other one you're going to notice is playing cards. And for Dr. Peter, that is what he did. They actually knew they had 30 kids in the class. They had 3 5s, 3 7s, 3 queens, and they just let the students pick a card. You know your group, and then what he did with the fourth one is he put it on an area of the room so you knew where you went if you were a 7 or you were a 3. And then we've had some people that really like this in primary grades. They've done the popsicle sticks with the picture on it. This one I have a link to in the handout. These are just, notice they have 2 different symbols on them. The first one, like the star, is the group you're going to go into, but then I'm going to split you into secondary groups after you do the first exercise, so they know where to go. So a couple things about this. These are different ways to do random groups. When they first did it, do you think this was popular? It wasn't. You know why? Because they still thought the teacher was doing something to manipulate what group I went into. But then what they found out is after they were changing the groups, well, this day I did end up with my friend. They're in my group. And they actually started to see they were random. And you know what it changed? It changed 2 things. It changed their feelings about groups. Because one thing I want you to think about, if we self-select groups, somebody is always left out. I can remember being picked on sport teams in gym class where here's the captain, pick the people you want. How do the people at the end feel? And you know what? Actually, some of those students said, I like this because I don't have to worry about being picked. The other thing it did, it removed the roles. I'm the leader of the group, I'm this person, and what they saw is the collaboration between students go way, way up because they were doing visible random grouping, okay? Now, in this one, okay, what time are we at? I'm not gonna have us do this one, I'm sorry, guys, because I'm watching my time here. But I want you to look at this one for a minute. This is a great middle grade or upper grade experiment. You could even do this in 5th grade. But it's thinking about that visible random grouping that I would have you in. But you bought a house with a friend, you gave so much money, at the end it had to be sold, this was how much it was sold for, what do you do with the money that's left over? And you would do that in a group where nobody has a specific role. So for this one, by the way, this is the most important slide. These type of tasks need to be done in groups. Number one, they need to be visibly random. They need to see you didn't set it up. Number two, they have to be changed often. Here's why. If you let the groups stay together, even though they're random, after a few days, they start to define the roles of the people in the group. Who's the leader? Who's the thinker? And then they revert back to where they won't share answers. Okay? Number three, choose your own way to do it. There's not one way. You can use a random group generator, but you don't need to. And then most effective group size. This is another thing they did in the study. K to 2, 2 students. Now, I know you're not going to believe this. I have 4 adult children. I know you're shocked that my children could be adults, but they are, okay? And in my 4 adult children, there are 4 grandchildren. My oldest 2 daughters each have 2. There are 3 girls and a boy. The boy, not Cody, Charlie just does whatever he wants to do, okay? The 3 girls, it's interesting. 2 are sisters, the other ones are cousins. When the 3 of them are together, guess what happens? There's always pairing. So for a while, all 3 will play together, and then after a little bit, these 2 and somebody's left out, and then it's these 2 and this one's left out. With K1 and 2, that's why 2 is the best group, because you don't get somebody left out. Notice 3rd grade all the way up through high school, 3 is the best. You get better interaction with a group of 3. What they found is when you do it 4 or 5, the interaction of everybody goes down. So that's the best. The other one, I'm going to go back up here. Groups must be changed often. They actually found the best changing, the best frequency was every day or every other day. And the reason was, if I'm in a group with someone I don't like, I only know it's going to be a day or 2 and then I'm going to shift. And it never gives enough time for the roles to be changed for that to happen. Okay? So let's go to the last section here, in the few minutes I have left to wrap this one up, where students work. So we've said 2 things really so far in building a thinking classroom. Number 1, you have to have rich tasks. You have to have thinking tasks. Start out with 3 to 5 that are non-curricular, that are just fun tasks to get them thinking about it, and then start building in the thinking tasks. I will say this, guys, you don't have to do this every day. You should do this at least 2 or 3 times a week, and it doesn't have to be the whole class period. It's a strategy we use in our classes to get the students thinking about the ideas. Number 2, visibly random groups. I'm grouping the students to do this. Best size groups, K to 2 is how many? 3 and up? 3. So they know they're random, and I change the groups often. The last one, where students work, and this is kind of unusual. How is your classroom arranged? By the way, what we have today is the worst arrangement for a building thinking classroom, just so you know, okay? But, you know, most of our classrooms, even today, still look like this. And that is set up for me to be the know-it-all that shares it with you. This is making a step towards that, where I actually have it set up where students are expected to interact with each other, because I have them facing each other. Not all the time, but that's set up. They actually showed one day, they took all the furniture out of a classroom when they were doing these studies, and they found that students actually walked into the classroom excited. And they said, why are you excited? So, well, we got to be doing something different today because there's no furniture in the room. Now, I'm not saying take the furniture out of the room, but just when the change happened, they knew that something was going to be different. So this is normally what we think of in school. We think of a student at a desk or at a table, writing, doing notes, working their problems out. But what they did in the study in these classrooms is they tried 5 different positions. Number 1, the group standing up, working at a vertical whiteboard. So it just meant there was a whiteboard, and they're standing up, and they're interacting like this, okay? The second one was standing up and working with a horizontal whiteboard, and all that meant was, like they had the 4 desks together, and they had the whiteboard laying on the desk, but everybody was standing, working on that surface. The next 2, same exact thing, except they removed the whiteboard and they made it chart paper. So they're working with chart paper, either standing up, or they have the chart paper on a table, everybody's standing up, they're working on it. And then the last one was sitting and writing in a notebook. So they're still in groups, but they're each sitting and writing in their notebook. Okay? Anybody want to guess which was least effective? The fifth one. Sitting, working in a notebook. You know why? Because it creates anonymity, and you don't know what I'm doing, okay, when I'm working on it as a teacher. So this is what they did, and the reason I'm sharing this, I found it really interesting. This is how they evaluated effectiveness. So they would do each one of these several days in a row in the classrooms, like standing, working on the board in groups, then standing, working with the chart paper. And this is what they measured. How quickly they got to the task in seconds, how long before they actually put the first thing on the board or the chart paper, how many seconds before they did that. Number 3, how long they stayed on task. And the rest of these, they got like a rubric score. How eager they were to start, the amount of discussion, amount of participating, amount of persistence, amount of knowledge mobility, and what that meant. How much did a group share with another group? And then the last one, the non-linearity of the work. Did they try to do step 1, step 2, or did it go all over the place? Because really what we're wanting is creative thinking. And I'm going to throw this up here. Notice these bottom ones. A 3 was there was lots of discussion, lots of participation, still kind of subjective. A 0 where there was none. And if you take all of these and look at them, what happens is we go into the notebook, we'll see different things. By the way, ignore the top one because it's just the number of groups that was in the class. But you'll start to notice over here, 0.9, 0.6, almost all ones for the amount of interaction, participation, discussion, all those kinds of things. And in the end, what they found was the one that overall had the best interaction was standing up, working on a whiteboard in groups of 3. And the reason it was, even more than the chart paper, because they could erase things if they decided it wasn't correct. Whereas they were more hesitant on the chart paper because if they did something wrong, it was permanently on the white paper, on the chart paper. So it was interesting the way they had them work. Now, anybody fortunate enough to be in a classroom where you have whiteboards on more than one wall? I've got a few people here. And most of us, it's getting really bad because not only do we have the whiteboard, now we might have a big projection screen mounted right in the middle of the whiteboard that lowers the space. You know what they did? They did some really creative things. They took like the clear saran wrap kind of paper that we wrap things in, and they took big sheets and put it on the wall. The other one they did is they had students work on the windows with erasable marker, just like on a whiteboard, and then just wiped it off because it gave them that space. But the idea behind this was the amount of interaction. So number 1, standing always produced better results. I want you to think about this too. Even this morning, when I had you get in groups and you were talking, the talking is always more animated when you're standing up. Do you know why? You can see body language. A lot of our communication is nonverbal. You actually see that with students. The second one is you can move around. Immediately, the standing did improvements in mood and energy. The next one, increase in nonverbal. It increased mobility, not only in the group, but with other groups. And, read this really quick. When I'm sitting, I feel anonymous. And when I feel anonymous, I'm much less likely to share with the group. So let's wrap this up. There are some potential challenges with this one right here, okay? And those challenges are kind of the things we discussed. What is our room set up? Let me see if I can get it go backwards for a minute. What is our room set up? Do we have the whiteboard? But I will tell you there's ways to get around it. And secondly is this. If you have to use chart paper, it's better having them stand and use chart paper than to do any of the other ones because I don't have those surfaces. So that's still better than having them doing notebooks or sitting or those kinds of things because they get to work together and see the work that they've done. All right? Now, here's the things on this one, and I'm going to throw some of these ideas up here. Oh, let me back up one. Okay. Use vertical, non-permanent surfaces. Have only one marker per group. Don't have 3 markers because then they don't have to interact. Number 2, sometimes move the marker around so not one person's doing the writing. Number 3, sometimes have the rule the person with the marker can't write down their ideas. They have to write down the other people's ideas. Have groups close to each other, not so close we feel like we're one group, but close enough they can hear each other's ideas. And then the last one, talk to students about valuing wrong ideas, and all that means is this. Don't erase somebody else's work or mark it out. Sometimes wrong ideas get us to the right idea. But it also brings out our thinking. By the way, the last one with this, and then I'll wrap up. The other thing about this, having students standing working on vertical surfaces, as a teacher, you can see what everybody is doing. I mean, you want to think about visible observation of what's happening, you can see that. So here's the big thing I want you to think about. By the way, if this is the one you want to take a picture of, I would love that because this is the one I want you to think about today. What is a task that you could use in the next week in your classroom to try this out? Okay? What's a task you could use? I mean, if you want to use the squares, use that, or some of the ones that were in here. Try some of those. But there's a lot, and I think in the breakout sessions today, you're going to get some other ones that you could use. So if I wrap this up, I would come back up here and say this. Number 1, set up tasks that can't be solved by mimicking. They have to think about it. 2, randomize them to groups. After you visible randomization. In K2, groups of 2, 312 groups of 3. Set up a method of randomization so it tells the students where to go, like the popsicle stick with the little symbol on it. They knew if they had a star, they went to the star table or the star place on the wall. Okay? Next one marker per group. And the last one, have them close, but not too close so the groups can interact with each other. So, we looked at the first 3 steps, and I will tell you this, the next 11 really build the whole idea out. So this is something that has interest to you. It makes a great study to do in PLCs in your group, but it really does make a difference in the classroom. And then I'm going to throw this last one up and I'm done. There's a QR code and a link. That's going to link you to a Word document that has all of the links in it that go to the presentation. It links you to the book online. And then there's a number of articles that will support you in this. But my last statement, if you listen to this and found something interesting, and then you go back and do nothing about it, we all wasted our time today. But if you go back and want to see a difference in the way your students interact and how engaged they are in class, building thinking classrooms can not only change the classroom environment, it could change how your students learn and how they value learning. Take one thing and try it out. So with that, I'm going to stop. Christina, are you coming up to set the panel up? Thank you. By the way, we had 2 more minutes before the phone blew up, just so you know. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Oh, and let me leave this up here.
Thank you very much, DJ, for the very insightful and practical strategies today. So do try out what you have learned today in the classroom on Monday, yeah? So give us a minute or so to set up the panel of discussion. May I now invite Mr. Brendan Harvey, who will be the moderator for today's panel. Brendan. And our esteemed panelists, Dr. Tao and Mr. Zhong, please. Invite him.
Good morning.
Brendan, let me do a...
All right. Let me pull up my questions.
It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to today's panel discussion. We are thrilled to be joined by our esteemed and distinguished panelists, Dr. Thao, in white collar jacket. She is the Academic Director of the English Program at Alaska Academy, Vietnam. Dr. Tao is also an international judge for the International Mathematical and Science Olympiad, bringing rich expertise in curriculum development and academic excellence.
Yeah.
Thank you. Our next panelist is Mr. Zhong, Director of Academic Programs and Quality Assurance at Win School Education System. Dr. Zhong has been instrumental in shaping curriculum innovation in Vietnam, championing critical and creative thinking, as well as the integration of AI education from kindergarten through grade 12. Today, we dive into an exciting and timely topic, from rote learning to critical thinking, transforming Vietnam's classroom culture. Guiding our conversation will be Mr. Brendan Harvey, who can't wait to speak. Brendan is our Senior National Literacy Specialist at McGraw Hill, with more than 20 years of experience and a background as a classroom teacher. Brendan has been a passionate advocate for literacy, supporting districts with impactful training and professional learning. Brendan will lead us today through a lively discussion full of ideas, experiences, and practical strategies for shaping the classrooms of tomorrow. Over to you, Brendan, to kick off the panel.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And somebody in the back's going to keep me on time, because I really have no idea how much time I have, and I could talk for a long time. So somebody in the back, give me like a 10-minute and a 5-minute. Whoo, and I'm nervous. Are y'all nervous? Do you have your microphone? Yeah. We're nervous up here. Are y'all going to be nice and friendly? Okay. Here's the deal. We're going to take a bit of advice from what we just learned from DJ. Everybody has to get up and move to a new seat. Oh, yep, get up, switch seats, wake up, change your space. Even if it's just one seat over. Oh, look at this. See, look, you're meeting people. It's going to wake you up. We good? All right, find your new seat in 5 seconds. 5, 4. See, I love it. The people at the back came to the front. The people at the front went to the back. Oh, maybe I might need a bell. Might have to use that bell. Also, too, through our conversation, once we talk, are y'all open if people have questions in the audience? Are you okay with? So, if you have questions as we go through our panel, just raise your hand, right? So, or we can wait and we'll do some Q&A at the end. Okay, we want this to be very collaborative. I don't want you to feel like you're just sitting and getting. I want you to feel like this is a conversation. So it's an honor to be with you. My name is Brandon, and I'm from Houston, Texas. So howdy, y'all. Can everybody say howdy? That was pretty good. So, yes, I'm from the United States. I taught second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. Any second, third, fourth, fifth grade teachers, elementary school? Yes, hello, yay. So, honored to be with you. So, we're going to talk a little bit about the learning and the critical thinking that's really transforming the Vietnamese classroom. So, I'm going to grab my laptop that has all my questions on it. All right, this first one's a big question. Are you ready? And I'm curious about this too, because, by the way, this is my first time in Vietnam. I've had 2 cups of Vietnamese coffee this morning. It's very good and very strong. What are the main cultural and systemic factors that keep rote learning so dominant in Vietnam? Why are things so rote? I know I've seen that in the United States too. Sort of just sit and get or learn. Why is that still happening in Vietnam?
Okay, so first of all, good morning everyone. Good morning educators, and so happy to be here. So let me first start. Okay, so I think in the question there will be 2 factors: is culture and the systemic factors. So let's talk a bit about culture. Even though Vietnam already making a major shift to critical learning from rote memorization, but the culture is kind of deeply rooted. So first is the student should be the passive learner, and the teacher is a source of knowledge. So the student would stay in the classroom quietly, do not disrupt the teacher's flow of teaching, do not question or challenge the teacher's expertise, and that's why the culture is to respect the teacher and listen to the teacher. And so the second one would be like they are afraid of losing face. So rote memorization would be the lifesaver, because they can repeat the knowledge and they make sure that the answer is correct. So to memorize would be the best strategy. Okay. So and also for us, like hardworking is considered to the path to success. And memorization, like spending many hours, like repeating or recall the factual details, is considered hardworking. And we really give the priority to the hardworking. Yeah. But for systemic factors, I think there are quite a few too. First of all is the lack of practical session. So they learn mostly from the textbook. Yeah, so they do not have the chance to practice, to do the hands-on activities, experiments, and other things. So they would think that the only way to acquire the knowledge is from the textbook, to memorize things in the textbook. Yeah, and also the education system would depends on the exam. And everyone would like to do best in the exam. So I mean everyone is both teachers and the students. And so we want to study, to tackle, to get the great or the most results in the examination. So rote memorization is also one effective way to achieve that. Yeah, and also one practical factor is the classroom size. So in Vietnam, especially in public school, the size is very big. So we are talking...
How many?
So in private school, it may be less than 30, but in public school, it can reach 50.
50?
Yes. So...
hold on.
Like it's real world classroom, you know. So in order for the teachers to teach creative thinking and
Or group,
critical
can you imagine
thinking.
grouping?
Yes. Like group of
grouping
two would be
50?
25 groups. So that's one practical problem that
Yeah.
we are facing. Also, in order to make the shift, the teachers themselves need to be trained, but many teachers here receive traditional training. But I must say again, like especially with the 2018 Vietnam general education program, is our new education program. We are making a lot of changes these days. Yeah.
Well, and I tend to say we tend to teach the way we were taught. And so if we grew up in rote memorization, that's all we know. What do you think about all of this? Rote memorization versus critical thinking in the Vietnamese classroom?
Yeah, I totally agree with what two of you have already shared. So I think the culture and systemic factors are mutually reinforcing structure that impacts the way that the learning is demonstrated by the students in Vietnam. So first of all, I think in terms of the cultural factors, Vietnamese people have a very high respect for teachers. So that the way that we show that respect for the teachers impacts the way that the learning can take place in the classroom. So for example, the teachers, in most of the public schools in Vietnam right now, there are still podiums for the teachers so that they can stand higher than the students.
Wow.
So,
even in an elementary classroom?
Elementary and secondary and high schools, in public schools right now.
Okay.
So that's just one of the physical factor in the classroom, the arrangement of the classroom, but it shows the culture of the Vietnamese people for the teachers. So historically, teachers are regarded as the indisputable source of information and knowledge for the students. So that is the reason why the critical thinking, or when a student pose a question for the teachers or ask something that is out of the curricular, or they would like to open up an opportunity for the collaboration or the expansion of the knowledge, it is not welcomed by the teachers historically. Now we are witnessing a nascent shift in the mindset of the teachers, but the way that parents and the students pay the respect for the teachers impacts the way that we are implementing the curriculum in Vietnam. So I just want to add one more culture factor like that.
Is the change happening slowly?
Yeah, of course.
Or is it happening really quickly?
Slowly, because as you have just said that we would think in the way that we were taught before, and it's not easy for the teachers to change their mindset. And another example that I can share with the teachers here, for example, in Vin School, when we are registering for the CIS accreditation, the expert from outside, the external expert came to Vin School and they witnessed a classroom and the language of instruction was in Vietnamese. So they didn't understand anything, but when they witnessed the interaction of the students in the classroom, when the students answer the questions very quickly, for example, they don't understand. They don't understand Vietnamese, but they can witness that the student can raise their hand immediately 1 or 2 seconds after the teacher posed a question. And they concluded that that classroom was not creating enough opportunities for a student to learn. Because they already know what they are expected to answer. So that classroom was not an ideal classroom for thinking, for real learning, genuine learning of the students. So we learned a lot through the CIS accreditation circle, and from that moment we decided to shift our mindset of the teachers from the rote learning or memorization into the creative thinking, into the inquiry-based learning, project-based learning, and the conceptual understanding of the students more.
Yeah. How many of you, raise your hand, and I know we have probably thousands on the live. Are we live streaming right now? Is that true? Yeah? Okay, so we probably have lots of people live streaming. So hello to everybody out there that's watching virtually. But those of you here in the room, raise your hand if you can relate to what you just heard, that you went to school and it was sort of a rote, right? And you just had to know the answer, memorize the answer. What I love is what we just learned earlier from DJ could be a wonderful tools to help with the shift, right, that you're both talking about. And again, if you guys have questions as we go through, just pop your hand. Are we good? Anybody have any questions so far, or even comments that they want to add? This is a conversation. You don't just have to sit there and be quiet. Okay. Let's go to our next question. Thinking about the teachers in Vietnam, how can they be empowered to encourage more, say, inquiry-based learning, critical thinking approaches? What is going to really make this happen in schools? And we'll start with you this time.
So first of all, in order to make that change happen, we need to change the mindset of the teacher first, because anything that we can create from the position of the system or administrator, it can live only if the teachers can understand that rationale, the philosophy, and they decide by themselves to change their mindset into the way that is more useful and helpful for students' learning.
Change is hard, though.
Yeah.
Do y'all agree? Change is hard? I mean, do you think the teachers are open to change even? Because if you're not open to change, change is really hard. Do you feel like the Vietnamese teacher is open to this sort of new way of thinking, or even shifting their classroom?
Yeah. I'm an optimistic person, so I think that Vietnamese people are really
That's good.
open
That's
to
good.
change. I think that everyone needs to change and everyone is open to change. The thing is whether we can make them understand the rationale behind the change.
Yes.
So if we put the students in the center, or in other words, that we put the philosophy of student center as the rationale behind our changes, then the teachers can understand why they need to change, and they can have the motivation to change effectively.
Yes.
That's the reason why in Vin School right now, all the decisions we have made, we always explain to the teachers that because we are implementing the philosophy, the educational philosophy of student-centered education, student-centered instruction. So these things or other things we are doing for the sake of the students,
yes.
not for the sake of ourselves, because we are serving the students. We need to do everything in our power. We need to change ourselves in order to make the learning of the student more effective.
Yeah.
And if we continue doing the way that we were taught before, and we apply that into the learning of our students for the next generations, then what will happen for our students?
I think a lot of good could come of it, for sure. What do you think about, how do we empower the teacher and encourage them, to make this inquiry-based learning and take on these critical thinking approaches? What do you think?
Yeah, so I would like to add one point to previous discussion. Like the teachers should be experienced themselves first. So they
just
should,
like we're doing it,
yeah.
right?
So they should experience the project-based, performance-based, inquiry-based, phenomenon-based sections as a student. And then they can effectively implement them to the students. Yeah. And secondly, I think we need to provide them the right thing. We need to provide them the infrastructure, like laboratories, computer rooms, and all the resources, because we have like digital resources and all kinds of things, and reduce the class size.
Yeah, that would be really critical.
Yeah.
But you know what happens though? What do we need more of if we reduce the class size?
More teachers.
We need more teachers, yes.
Yes, so that will help them. And one thing, because I'm the academic director, so I'm always think of the assessment. So if we change the assessment, we will empower the teachers to critical thinking, because if assessment just to ask to recall the factual details, then the teacher will need to teach those facts and ask the student to memorize it.
Right.
But if we shift the assessment to formative assessment and other project-based assessment, the teacher will have the chance to do the inquiries and other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, is there something that we could do right now to affect change? Could we change the way the furniture is organized in the classroom? Say yes. Right? If you want to affect change, you have to be a part of that change. Is everybody in this room willing to be a part of this change? Yes, right? I think there are some things we could take away. Now, you know, I may not be able to reduce the class size. I may not be able to provide laboratories, you know. But there are things, right? Don't you feel like there's things that we could do at a classroom level or at a school level to really affect change? Does anything kind of come into your head like, what can you do? Think of this right now. I want to ask the audience. What is something you could do tomorrow, you know, on Monday, to help affect change in the way students learn and the way your classroom runs? Turn to the person next to you. Take 10 seconds, okay? I can affect change by fill in the blank. On your mark, get set, go. Right, like I feel like there's got to be something, right, that they could do. All right. Come back together in 5, 4, 3. I'll ring my bell. 2, 1. All right. I just think it's important that we think about those things, right? To affect those change. And I want you all to leave here feeling empowered, right? To affect those change. But I think the assessments, boy, that tends to drive everything, doesn't it? And that even, I think a lot of times drives how the instruction is going to occur. Yeah, for sure. I want to stay on this idea of change and support. And I want to kind of go back to the Vietnamese culture, which you guys are experts on. What role should the parents play? What about our communities in supporting this sort of cultural shift in the classrooms? Any thoughts about how do we reach the parents? How do we engage with our parents and our communities to change schooling? Because I know as a teacher, I get parents, where's the worksheet? Where's the grade? Because that's what they were used to as students. So they expect the same thing from their own children. And we have to kind of change that. So I'm going to start with you. Any ideas about what role parents or the community could play in supporting this cultural shift?
Yes, this is a very important factors that will affect us, right? So we are trying to make the shift in the education system, and so we do need to make a shift in the parents' mind, like ideas, like we are joking, like we need to train the parents as well.
Yes. It's like teaching the parents, right?
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. So they need to rethink about the values of the students, rethink about how is success, like successful student will look like. So instead of just looking at the grades, so they should look at the growth, the skills of the student, see how the student can ask the questions and to solve the problems. I think we need to make sure that the parents will understand that. And like in our school, we do a lot of inquiry activities, and it takes a lot of time. Yeah, and it's messy, and the teacher, the parents.
Say that
will
again.
think messy.
Y'all, sometimes teaching is messy.
Yes.
Is that okay, though? Right? Have you ever heard the expression, fail forward?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's okay if things don't work out. Fail forward, but keep going. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So the parents would think like, oh, so why do we waste so much time in the lab, and whether the student can learn something or understand something. If we use that amount of time in the classroom for theory, they will learn a lot. So normal parents would think like that, but we try to by over time, not right away, but then the parents will understand that actually deep learning is happening there, and the student will understand, memorize than rote memorization.
Than just rote memorization.
Yeah, and
right.
they also, during that process, they develop a lot of skills, those 21st century skills that they will need for their future. Yeah.
Exactly. What do you think about bringing in the communities and bringing in parents to affect change?
I think that is a very important part of the change, because we cannot change without the change of parents or the community, especially in Vietnam.
Okay.
Because
Why?
We talked before about the culture factors.
Yes.
Relevant to the change or the shift in education. So for parents, we need to, I don't want to use the word train, but educate parents.
Yeah.
About,
it is kind of like a training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to educate parents through a very empathic lens, because I think that most of the teachers or educators are parents too. And we need to understand the expectations of the parents in order to change the perception of the parents and expectations of them. So, for example, we can educate parents that instead of asking the children what grade did you get after a school day, please ask the children that what did you learn? How many questions did you ask in the classroom? That is a communication between the parents and the children that can create the culture at home, so that the children can be affected by a way to approach the learning in a different way. And another thing is, for example, we need to send a very clear message to the parents about the philosophy of the school or the educational rationale behind all the decisions that we are making for their children's learning at the school. For example, in our school, we changed the way that we are conducting the end of semester or end of year parent conference. So we are not holding that in the traditional way that, for example, the homeroom teacher will comment on the children's learning over the course of the semester of the school year. Instead, the students will hold that conference for the parents. They will have to demonstrate their learning by showing off what they have learned for the period of the semester or the whole year. They will explain to their parents that what progress or what improvement that they have made over the course of the time.
Wait a
of
minute.
the learning.
So you're saying the students?
Yeah, the student-led conference.
Are leading the conference.
Yeah.
They are presenting
Yeah.
their learning
Yeah.
to their parent.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm kind of blown away because I've just got to process that for a minute, because you're actually doing multiple things. Number one, you're getting the kids to show their learning and those things. Also, what is happening is what we call a soft skill. Raise your hand if you've ever heard that term soft skill before. That will take them into college, into career, adulthood. Just the fact that the students are having to use their language in front of, it's their parents. I assume the teacher is also there present with them. It's so much more beyond just presenting their work. If that continues, and does that go all the way up through the grade 12?
Yeah, grade 1 to grade 12.
All the way through grade 12. The sophisticated just oral language. Sorry, I'm a language person. I can't help myself. The sophisticated oral language, and really to deepen the learning, because they're having to explain it. Are you seeing this? I imagine there's a lot of amazing things just happening from those conversations. Are you seeing it?
That's our intention. That the students need to demonstrate their learning, not only the academic knowledge of the subject, the disciplinary knowledge, the subject matter, but the communication skill, the way they present the matter to the parents, and it will become more complex over the time that they spent with the school from grade 1 to grade 12.
Wow. That could be even better than those assessments.
Yes. Actually, we are doing the same thing at our school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you see that as being of strong value?
Yeah, and I can see the whole progress when the student prepare for it. It's really excited.
I bet some kids are do some students get really nervous when they have to do at first?
More excited than nervous.
Really?
Yeah.
There's an excitement to kind of show off a little bit of their learning.
Without any judgment.
Yeah. Now, if a student stumbles, they're not being graded on this, are they? Or is it really just an opportunity to express? And does the teacher help if the student sort of gets stuck or gets nervous? Is the teacher there to help?
Yeah, but sometimes, most of the time, they will have their peer
Oh,
along with them.
Oh,
yeah.
you let them have a peer,
Yes,
a friend?
so they help each other mostly.
Oh, do you do it the same way, or is it just the one student? How do y'all handle it?
We regard the stumbling moment as the teachable moment for the students.
I love
so
it.
they will learn from that stumbling moment
Yeah.
to become better.
Yeah, I love that. Anybody else doing this in your school buildings? Yes? Do you see it as a value? Thumbs up? Yeah? That's amazing. Here's my question, if we can, this isn't on the official questions, but you talked about sort of training the parents or getting the parents in there, communicating how important that is. Have you ever done a parent night where I'm seeing some head nods. A parent night is where the parents come, right, after work in the evenings and actually experience being a student, right? Doing the lessons. That could be something you might consider doing maybe at the beginning of each semester, could be something to do around conferencing time as well. How many conferences do we get within a school year?
2.
Do y'all do 2?
Normally 3.
Y'all do 3 conferences, yeah. But a parent night is really about the parents, the community members getting to experience critical thinking, inquiry-based learning, so that they can then see the value of it versus just me talking about it. Raise your hand if y'all do a parent night at your school. Anybody? Y'all, do you find it to be successful? What kinds? Can I come down here? Do y'all mind hearing from the audience? Can you tell me a little bit about what a parent night looks like or feels like, sounds like?
Okay, so my school is IB school.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have like kind of meet the teacher night when all the parents come after work.
Yeah.
And then they like as you said they play like the student, and then we are teacher. We're talking about how the learning happen in the classroom.
Okay.
And then they also do some
Activities.
yes, activities, yes, and then some. It depends on the class, but
Sure.
we do some like quiz for the parent too, and then yeah, it happened. It went very well.
Good.
And then
Yeah, are you at the same school? Okay. Does anybody else have done a parent night? Think about it though. It could be something that could really drive some of that change, right? And I guess once the parents experience it, they're more open to the type of activities and the learning that they're going to do, which again could shift it away from that just rote memorization, right? As well. Okay, back to the official questions here. We've talked a little bit about assessments, right? Of course, we can't get away from them. They're still happening, but tell me a little bit about how you think assessment systems could evolve to sort of, I guess, reward or to help support creativity, problem solving, instead of just the memorization. What would those maybe assessments look like? You know, if you could write the assessment and if you were in charge of the world, what might that be like? Either one, who'd like to take that first question?
So assessment, I think the assessment will drive the instruction because the pressures that we are putting on the teachers at the classroom is really high in terms of the assessment. We are affected by the requirement of the MOET, the Ministry of Education and Training of Vietnam. We are affected by the national high school graduation exams. So the students need to be well prepared to take part in those examinations and to get flying colors.
Yes.
That is expectations of the teachers and the parents as well. So in order to free teachers from those expectations, we need to balance between the expectation of the parents and the expectation of our educational philosophy. I think that most of the schools like to follow the inquiry-based, project-based education, more focused on the critical thinking and the thinking classroom. Most of the schools now in Vietnam, they would like to see that shift. But the matter is they are very struggling to figure out the way to balance between their both expectations.
Right.
So for example, I think that I just share the lesson learned from our system that we need to create the two systems in place at the same moment. For example, we have the grades to fulfill the requirement of the MOET, the Ministry of Education and Training of Vietnam. And we have our own assessment system as well to assess the real learning of the students based on the standards of our system. That's the reason why we adopt the standard-based education and standard-based instruction for our system, because we would like to create more opportunities for our students to focus on critical thinking, the high-order thinking processes. So we create an assessment that will create more opportunities for the teachers to assess the thinking process of the students instead of just the answers.
What's the right answer? You want to sort of see the steps of that thinking.
Yeah. For example, for literature, we are not asking the students to write a 45-minute paper or 95-minute paper, but we will ask the student to do a project. They have to go through all the necessary processes of writing a final product. For example, they have to make an outline, they have to read multiple sources of information, they have to synthesize the information, and they have it in order to write a final product. And for each of those processes, we will mark the students based on the standards of competency.
Right, not just the end
product. Not just the one-off product that we receive from the students. And for other subjects, history, geography, we have the global citizenship education subject. And those subjects, we are assessing students through the lens of project-based learning.
Okay.
They have to pose a question, they have to decide the topic they would like to explore and find the answer, and then the whole school year will be spent on their journey of reading the materials, doing the survey, interviewing and doing the research, and writing the final report to present their solution to the problem that they would like to solve. So that is the way that we are nurturing the critical thinking, the research-based skills, and the inquiry mindset for the students. And we assess those skills beside the disciplinary knowledge or the subject matter knowledge that the student have to master according to the MOET's requirements.
It's almost like setting an argument, making a claim, citing evidence, right, to support their opinion or their argument, right? That's why I think debate is so good and powerful as well. Kids love to debate back and forth, taking a side on an issue. Does this, okay, so you touched on literacy assessment or history, geography. Is there any shift or change that you would like to see in how we assess mathematics for inquiry-based or, problem-solving based? What would that assessment be like?
For maths, we have to add more questions like thinking mathematically questions into the final examination of our system. So we are finding way to balance. We have 50% of the questions devoted to the conceptual knowledge of the students, and 50% of the questions will be devoted to the critical thinking of the student, the process-based thinking students through mathematical thinking questions.
Right. I'm so glad you're saying that, because it makes me think of a lot of the assessments that we're doing now in the United States, right? Very similar, very similar. Seeing multiple pieces of text and having to pull information and cite evidence from those texts to support their answer. The problem-based learning solutions. And really it's about scoring even the steps of the thinking, and not just we hope they get to the right answer. But they can still get points if some of the thinking is there versus just the final, answer, which is really important too. All right, what do you think about assessments? I know you have strong feelings about assessments.
Yes, but I totally agree with the points that we just discussed just now. And we're trying the same thing, like not only we want to diversify our assessment methods using performance-based assessment to actually give points to the whole process for their logical thinking, for their originality, and evidence citation and things like that. But for example, in language arts, you are a language person, right? So we would not assess like the grammar questions like before, but mostly would be reading comprehension. So in our system, reading culture is one of the most important tasks for our students. And so when they read a lot, so they can write very well too.
And writing helps with comprehension.
Yes. So I think our students are equipped to tackle any kinds of exam Yeah, so because as I said, the 2018 Vietnam General Program has changed a lot, and last year is the first time they have the first exam for the new curriculum, and many students are very surprised and not prepared for that.
Sure.
But I think for the way of study with the critical thinking like this, all the students will be well prepared.
Yeah.
And
Did the scores go down? Did they stay the same? Did you see an increase with the shift?
so there are shift, and it also depends on the cities and the suburban areas. Yeah. So, but we can see a very positive shift there,
Okay.
because we will prepare for the students with the skills that they need, but not only for rote learning, for recite or recall the factual details anymore. And so I also, in my school, we do have our own assessment system, and we try to make the questions not only tackle the top tiers of the Bloom taxonomy, where they can analyze, they can evaluate, they can
synthesize.
create. Yes. So I always talk to Mr. Song that we need to remake the questions and make our own assessment system. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, you science, that's your bag of tricks there. How do we assess science topics? What are you all doing for science?
So we have two kinds of assessment. The first one would be the project-based assessment, so where they actually answer or actually solve a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, the Inspire Science give us a lot of idea for that. For example, build a self-closing gate, or build a skate park where we can go up and down and things like that. So we do have regular projects like that, and we can assess the student along the way of the project.
Do they do those independently, or are they with a partner? They are in groups.
Yes.
How many's in a group?
So our class size is around 25 to 28.
Okay.
So we divide into 5 to 6 groups.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the smallest
For
size
project,
we can do.
So you do project-based learning.
Yes.
Is there another side to the assessment system?
Yes, and we also have paper-based, but beside the multiple choice questions, we do have short answers questions, and we can give points to not only the final conclusion, but we can find the evidence, find the idea, the judgment of the student inside the short answers question. So I think it's pretty important.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Are you doing your assessments pencil paper or digitally online, or how are y'all doing assessments?
We are doing all forms of assessment for the students, because one thing that I'm really worried about is digitalizing the assessment of the students if we do not understand the rationale behind it. For example, we just turn the pencil paper multiple choice question into a computer-based multiple choice questions, so no change happens at all.
Right.
Can I add one more point in terms of assessment? We often think about summative assessment only. Now we just discussed about summative assessment, but I think for the students, another form of assessment and more forms of assessment will be helpful for the students is formative assessment for learning and assessment as learning.
Yes.
So we need to help the student to realize and to figure out that what areas that they are not good at,
Yes.
what kind of steps that they need to take in order to improve their learning. So assessment for learning during the process of learning of students is more important than
just
the
the
summative
end,
assessment.
And how do you all formatively evaluate? Do you encourage your teachers to use any specific tools, or, I don't know, a checklist, a rubric, or what are they doing during that learning for that formative evaluation? Do you have any tools or anything that you're encouraging the teachers to use or do?
Yeah, in order to facilitate the formative assessment of the teachers, I think the curriculum needs to be very well structured. so that the teachers can know at
Like
each
checkpoint.
and every point that
Yes, right.
what expectations are expected of the
That's
students at that moment.
Right.
So
And I'm talking daily. Are you thinking daily, weekly?
yeah, we have a very well-structured curriculum down to each lesson and period.
Wow.
So the teachers will know their lesson objectives for each and every lesson that they are teaching. And all of those lesson objectives are mapped backward to their unit outcomes and subject standards,
Yeah.
the way that the US is doing the mapping for
Yeah,
the
I think
curriculum.
that's really, I think that's really critical. What, do you have any formative evaluation things happening in your school?
Yes, so we encourage teachers to do that frequently, and yes, we have some exit ticket and some games or quiz at the end of each lesson and things like that, just to evaluate the student continuously, and then they know where they are and they know what to improve. Yeah.
Say that again. They got to know where they are and where they're going. That's called assessment-based learning. I know we have to wrap up, so I would love to hear from each of you something that you are most proud of, something that you are most excited about. Maybe you could share a success, a little success that you can think of in your school or program that has really made a nice transition really effectively. Is there something you're really proud of to share with you, with everybody about your school or what's going on?
Yeah, actually, let me think. I just shared a story with Sean earlier. So
can you share it with all of us?
Sure. So we changed to the new curriculum where it's project-based and like experiments, inquiry-based, and we think that our students are not very well prepared for exams, you know, because we tend to develop their skills, their critical thinking, their collaboration, and all that. But exams is different. But this year, this is the first time that we have 3 students that get into the International Math and Science Olympiad, which is the most privileged exam in the primary students out of 12 from Vietnam.
Wow.
So we think that
congratulations.
Yeah. So
round of applause. They got 3 students.
Thank you. So our students, even they are learning like real life problems and solve problems and things like that. But they can apply their knowledge in any kinds of exams. That's what I talked earlier. So they are prepared.
Yeah, and it's building that confidence that they can do it, and more will want to join. You know.
So our curriculum is not exam driven.
Yeah.
But that's our.
Not teaching to the test.
Yes,
right?
but we can see very good performance and result in our students who are very confident and they really enjoy learning and enjoy reading and all that.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
What's a great success story or something to share that's happening with you or your students?
I think it's very difficult to pick just one success for our system, to be honest. But 2 things that I think that our system is very proud of at the moment. One is we can shift from teaching to the test, teaching to the middle, to teaching to every student. And the second thing is our schooling is not preparing the students for life, but our schooling is life for every student itself.
Oh, I love that. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to have a transition for some like coffee break outside, right? Do you want to make it? No? They're telling me to stop talking.
Before we lose everyone's attention, would you mind taking a selfie with everyone?
I think we could do that. Let's all stand up and take a selfie, everybody. And a big round of applause for our panelists. Yeah.